Brett Favre is scum. And let's listen to Bree and Ryzen break down some of the details and the new details that involves slavery, aka prison labor. And I'm not kidding you.
Well, Brianna, what's on your radar?
Robbie, what might be the biggest welfare fraud of the decade just got worse. As we've covered here on Rising, NFL quarterback Brett Favre took $5 million allotted for needy families for speeches he never gave and to build a volleyball stadium at his daughter's college. Now there is new breaking news. 2 years after scamming Mississippi's poor out of money they needed to survive, Favre tried to get additional money from the state's welfare agency for a new football facility, the Clarion Ledger reports. Now, as a brief recap, this scandal is part of a larger fraud and embezzlement scheme in which $77 million were stolen from poor families. And it's the biggest public fraud case in Mississippi history. Because of a Clinton-era policy, federal money distributed under the welfare program known as TANF, or Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, could be distributed as block grants to states instead of being distributed on the basis of need. Now, the rationale was that block grants allow states more flexibility in how they use federal money. But this scandal reveals exactly why that can be a problem. Block grants allow states to shift the federal funds to other purposes. And as we learned earlier this month in Mississippi, those purposes included millions of dollars for Brett Favre's pet projects. Now, Favre's claim that he did not realize the funds he got came from the poorest people in America's poorest state might have been reasonable at first blush. As a sport philosophy professor at George Washington University pointed out in the New York Times, it's not uncommon for individuals to secure grants without knowing exactly where the money is coming from. But text messages that came out earlier this month blew up that lie. In the text between Favre and the director of a community education nonprofit, Favre asked, quote, "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much?" The director, Nancy New, confirmed that she had, quote, "just gotten off the phone with Phil Bryant, Mississippi's then governor, and that Bryant was, quote, on board with us." Now, neither Bryant nor Favre have been criminally charged, and Favre has repaid $1 million he was given for speaking fees, minus nearly $250,000 in interest still outstanding. But wait, there's more. Favre had told a local paper that he had not discussed building a volleyball facility with former Governor Bryant. The new texts show that during September of 2019, Favre texted Governor Bryant pressing him for money to pay for the facility. Quote, "We obviously need your help big time, and time is working against us. And we feel that your name is the perfect choice for this facility, and we are not taking no for an answer!" Exclamation point. Governor Bryant responded, "This was a great meeting, but we have to follow the law. I'm too old for federal prison." Such restraint.
That's the conversation they're having. So it sounds like Brett Favre is the one who's pushing this. So we have people in the ruling class who not only have PR firms like the NFL painting these great pictures of these disgusting people in the same way that CNN and ESPN does for their people, for their brand, when all along they know this guy's a piece of shit. Mississippi. So you have that happening in Mississippi. While this guy is stealing $5 million, could that have helped the people in Jackson, Mississippi? Mississippi is the poorest state in the United States. Let's continue with Bree's assessment and listen to, there's more to this too.
Restraint. Moreover, back in 2017, the year Brett's daughter started at the University of Southern Mississippi, Favre texted Governor Bryant, quote, "Obviously, Southern has no money, so I'm hustling to get it raised." A few hours later, he texted, "Of course, I am all in on the volleyball facility. One thing I know how to do is raise money." Apparently, But wait, it gets worse. Former WWE wrestler Teddy DiBiase Jr. has alleged that Phil Bryant redirected welfare funds away from a nonprofit that needed it to help the poor because, quote, the nonprofit director was a supporter of the Democratic candidate for governor that year. An action that, of course, benefited the current Republican governor, Tate Reeves. This was reported on yesterday's episode of the New Abnormal podcast over at the Daily Beast. But wait, there's more. According to 2018 text, Brett Favre reportedly suggested using prison labor to build the volleyball facility for his daughter's school. Look, to be clear,
prison labor. And I think the prison labor in Mississippi, they don't get any money. Because you think prison labor, oh, they're getting paid cents. There's some prison labor that gets paid nothing. And I believe Mississippi is one of those states. So Brett Favre wants to steal millions of dollars from poor and working class people and then have some slaves come build the shit. That's Brett Favre. The one that the NFL and ESPN and Disney, who owns ESPN, wants to prop up as this great person. Let's listen to some more about this prison labor.
Clear, these are federal dollars that the governor's office has the sole discretion to disperse. It doesn't go through the state legislature. Blame cannot be dispersed. And the governor's office chose to give millions of dollars to fund an already multimillionaire man's whims. So let's take a look. What else was going on in Mississippi at the time? Well, at the time of the scandal, the cash checks available to the poor in Mississippi hadn't increased in decades. Poor families could get a mere $170 a month for a family of 3. Meanwhile, 99% of people who applied for that meager cash welfare benefit were denied assistance altogether. By contrast, Brett Favre's net worth is over $100 million. It's important not to skip over who this hurt. For example, the most common...
Maybe as poor and working class people, we just don't understand. If you have $100 million and it costs $5 million, why aren't you just using $5 million of your $100 million? What is your lifestyle? How is your lifestyle, Brett Favre? How is your lifestyle going to change one iota between 95 million and 100 million? What changes for you?
Cause for family separation is neglect. And neglect is often a crime of poverty. 75% of children flagged by the system are not abused. Their families are just too poor to take care of them properly. So imagine you were a family whose children were put into the foster care system due to neglect. Who could have really used that $170 check to feed your family or keep a roof over your head? Oh well, at least a millionaire's daughter has a new volleyball facility. Mississippi is currently going through a water crisis, as we've covered here on Rising. 2 days ago, the Department of Justice said the water was not safe, and in fact said it was prepared to file an action against the city of Jackson under the Safe Drinking Water Act. Residents of Jackson have lacked access to safe and reliable water for decades. The capital city of a state in the richest country in the world. And in that context, the state's former governor was handing out freebies to millionaires. And the current governor, I'm afraid he's hardly off the hook. Local reporter Anna Wolf has pointed out that it's a conflict of interest for Governor Tate Reeves to be in charge of the embezzlement lawsuit that has implicated Brett Favre. She says he should, in fact, be a target of it. The former welfare director, John Davis, who is facing criminal charges in this scandal, said he was doing Governor Reeves' bidding when he funneled over $1 million to Reeves' fitness trainer, a defendant in the lawsuit. Governor Reeves also recently fired the attorney who had brought the welfare suit in the first instance after he attempted to subpoena the University of Southern Mississippi Athletic Foundation for its communications with, among others, Governor Bryant. Communications which we now know are pretty incriminating. This is after Reeves' staff had forced the U.S. attorney to remove the Athletic Foundation from the lawsuit before he filed it. It won't surprise you to learn that the Athletic Foundation board is made up of Reeves' supporters and campaign donors. Meanwhile,
I'm shaking my head because it's just layer upon layers of corruption, layer upon layers of greed. Like, our lives are being destroyed. Our quality of life they don't care about, and we just sit back and be quiet and just go vote like the nice citizens we are, as they just fuck our lives, and we say nothing. Mississippi can't get water, but the governor is giving $5 million away from welfare recipients. And we think the red or blue team is going to fix this cesspool.